From MZ Studios in Dallas, Texas, you're listening to the Tennis Revolution podcast.
Confess or not to confess? That is the question. I want to say, hey, we're right back after just a week, but then be lying to our fans.
You're giving away the trade secrets already?
I can't help it. It feels like forever since we've been in here.
It does. And we've had an extra day delay.
Yeah. Too bad. Too bad. It's tennis season for me, so that, jams us up.
Because it's such great weather.
And I don't know, Corey does nothing. I don't know what he was doing. What were you doing last week?
I was available. Maybe,
right.
I don't. Maybe I wasn't.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Who knows? I've got 15 teams. I'm captaining slash coaching, so I'm never available.
And to be honest, did they really miss anything? I mean, the tennis was pitiful. There was nothing.
Oh, I was at the Challenger final. That's where I was.
Oh, that's right.
But we recorded that day. So we were here last week.
Oh, it just seems like forever.
Yeah.
Because one day, that's how much I missed you.
Yeah.
One day, I can't take it. Oh, boy. Well, we got some tennis to talk about now.
Yeah, we had a lot, actually.
Well, I mean, that's relative. By the way, I'm already seeing tweets about disparity in prize money, even though they don't account for different. It drives me insane. The levels are different. It drives me insane.
Well, yeah, because the 3 men's tournaments weren't all the same prize money, I'm sure.
Right, to each other.
Right.
Right.
Welcome to the Tennis Revolution podcast.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But yeah, we've complained so much about them having so many tournaments on the same week, but that, for some reason, didn't bother me this week because it was like 3 totally different tournaments. When I get annoyed is when it's like 2 of the exact same tournaments in 2 different places.
Right.
These are like 3 completely different levels and surfaces.
Well, I'm just glad they finally decided, you know what, we need to start the indoor hard court season and get this thing moving because November is too far away.
Right. Indoor hard, then outdoor clay, then
so
outdoor
here's the
grass.
Thing. Is it my fault? Probably. It might be my fault, not tennis's fault, that there is no real coherent situation.
Well, it can't be your fault because you didn't control it.
Is it my fault for assuming that's how it should be and or that's how it is, but then it's really not? Because golf doesn't care.
They just sort of go wherever.
Well, their best players in America, in North America, are playing here.
Right.
Their best European players are playing in Europe.
Yeah.
By the way, Corey's looking at me like an idiot because I'm pointing towards Europe. I'm not sure if that's where Europe is.
I was going to say towards Europe is debatable.
Is that towards Europe?
I have no idea.
Me either. We'll work on the cardinal direction.
You're the geography man.
Well, yeah, I guess.
But
I was never a Boy Scout. I never learned to, see what direction it is.
But I think would you be okay if the Australian was indoors? Then this would just be one long indoor season from November to February, and then it'd be okay, right?
Well, no, because it can't end on a New York Open. It's got to end. It's got to end.
It's got to build to something
on the Australian.
Right. Well, that would be ideal.
Well,
yes.
we've talked about it already. The Australian series needs to start in December.
Right.
And then the French series, you need to push the French a little closer to, any time. I mean, it's not until, dude. It's how many months away is the French? It's ridiculous.
Well, like 4 at least.
But golf makes no apologies.
Yeah.
Like they have a whole – I don't even know what's going on.
But they kind of do what we talked about. We talked about maybe tennis should have like a regional series and then they just come together for the big events, and that would make the big events seem more appealing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they don't have
We've talked about
right now
that
the big
before?
events are big enough. That's the problem. The big events aren't the ones that are struggling. It's the small events.
Right.
The big events don't need to be any bigger.
Huh. Yeah. I mean, you always hated the fact that they have multiple 250s, for instance, all at the same time.
Right. Well, especially if they're the same surface.
Well, I don't lament the fact, how about that they have 250s at the same time, as long as they're far, far away from each other.
Yeah.
Because you have guys that are literally a day away from being in a challenger. Now they're in a 250, and they've got to travel all over the place. So if you have a 250 in the U.S., you've got a 250 in the Middle East, you've got a 250 in wherever, at least it, helps to defray the cost for all that travel.
Yeah, no, this kind of worked out perfectly this week. You had a South American tournament, you had a European tournament, and an American tournament.
Right.
So you had all three, categories, and players could kind of make the best decision for themselves. And it made it kind of fun for us as viewers because it was like 3 different time zones. So there's always something on that was live or close to it.
Did you see me making a face in here? This is the worst tea from Starbucks I've ever had. I don't even know what concoction it is.
Well, if I had it, it'd be the worst tea I've ever had because I've never had tea that I liked.
Well, you're a loser.
And I haven't had tea in about 20 years.
So the New York Open, wonderful event in and of itself. But I think it's my fault for trying to connect it to anything else. And nobody else does, maybe.
Well, it does seem comical to have something called the New York Open, which by name sounds really big, and then you look at the draw and like when it is, and you're like, oh. Like New York Open sounds huge.
No, what it is it's the video game version of the U.S. Open.
Right.
But they can never call it the U.S. Open because of licensing, so they used to call it the New York Open.
Right.
And the Melbourne Open.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Paris Open.
But yeah, I don't.
London Open. Okay.
I mean, I get what they're trying to do, but I mean, the problem is, what are you going to do? Are you going to have because Australian and French are so far apart, are you going to have 5 months of clay court tournaments leading up to the French?
No, of course not. But if you smush the French closer.
Right. Well, I think why wouldn't the year end with the Australian? That's your last tournament of the year.
Yeah.
And then you have 2 months break, January, February.
Knew I had you here for a reason.
And then you start spring break, Indian Wells.
That is wonderful.
Although Indian Wells is on hard court,
exactly.
But still.
It's dumb. What a dumb idea.
Well, you've said all along, we could do Indian Wells could be any week of the year. It wouldn't matter.
Right. It's perfect weather.
Yeah, and Miami, same thing.
Yeah, a little bit.
So, I mean, those could be part of the U.S. Open series now.
Man, they should be. I don't know why they're not.
I mean, that'd be a lot of hard court tennis to squeeze into that.
The Australian Open would be the 4th, and it'd be like a fiscal calendar.
Right.
Who cares when January is? It's not. That's not what it's about.
Yeah, I guess you'd still have to have the year end after that at some point, but
yeah, well, we got plenty of time.
That's
obviously.
True. Yeah, it could be February, first week of February, and then you've still got 4 months until the French Open.
Well, how about this? How about we start doing that? How about that?
Right. We'll have our own ranking system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you did, like your fantastic draw situation. That experiment worked out like a charm. Let's
eliminate all the players the first week.
That was a great idea. It just didn't come through. Yeah, so I like it. So the French Open opens the season.
Right.
That's wonderful.
I mean, the French Open series, at least.
Yeah.
You still have your 4 to 6 week, warm-up period that we like.
Well, if we still need to slide the French sooner, just a hair.
Right.
Just a hair.
Well, that would be easier now. If
3 weeks, maybe.
We didn't have Miami and Indian Wells in here.
Right.
You could.
3 weeks, maybe.
Like Memorial Day weekend.
And then you've got actually more than a half, half tournament to lead up to Wimbledon.
Yeah,
That's absurd.
You could have it end on Memorial Day weekend, which, again, not that they're catering to American audiences, but that's a good time because people are out of school. They have more time to watch.
Yeah.
Travel there even if they wanted to.
They should cater to us. We deserve it for
That's
no
right.
reason.
But yeah, then you would have your 4 weeks for Wimbledon, kinda, which is what you want. And then when Wimbledon ends, you've got a 6 to 8 week for you could start the U.S. Open on Labor Day weekend.
So, do you want to talk about men's tennis in this first segment?
Sure.
And here's why. It was more exciting, but only because you were there.
Right.
And then you were like, what was that line you said before we started recording?
I don't know. I wasted it.
Oh, you said you watched the Dallas Challenger.
No, I said watch the Dallas Challenger in New York because it was the same guys, which was probably not exciting to anybody but me.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is cool to see those guys you just saw in person, like Schnur, who made the final. Made the final. He had never won a tour match ever, and made the finals of an ATP 250.
Ooh-wee.
So to me, those are the kind of stories that are exciting in tennis that we don't ever have hardly anymore. So you had somebody go from never winning a match to an ATP final, and he was so close to winning the final, it would have been a bigger story.
Yeah.
But even Opelka winning is a big story too, so it was really a no-lose situation, except he had no star power in the final.
Future star. Listen, to me, though, 250s, I think, are very close to the same mentality you should have watching a challenger.
Right.
which is that was a 125 or 150, 125.
Yeah.
You should have the same mentality, which is I'm not here to see star power. I'm here to see professional. I'm here to see the top 1% of 1% of human beings on the planet.
Right.
I mean, there's 7 billion people almost on the planet, and there's 750 ranked professional tennis players.
Well, and they had Isner.
You do the math. No, you can't. Neither can I. But whatever.
But they had Isner, who was top 10, is top 10, and he's there, but then Tiafoe was the next seed. So really, Isner didn't need to be there. Outside of that, it would have been more normal. But, I mean, is that really who they're wanting to see anyway in the final? They're not going to see Isner in the final. They have to know they're seeing up-and-coming players, younger, The McDonald was there. So it was not a star-studded field, but hopefully you got to see some future stars. That's what I liked about it.
Well, and if they'd start marketing 250s that way, maybe they'd do a better job in terms of selling them for TV or what have you. I mean, how many 250s do we see live on TV throughout the year? I don't know.
Yeah, not. It seems to be more lately, but they didn't used to show them as much at all.
Yeah, so I mean, it's got to be what it actually is. Stop trying to be something you're not.
Well, yeah, and we talked about that with the Dallas Challenger. They tried to get by on star power too, and it's like, and then look what happened in the final when you make your whole plan to market the stars, and then none of them make it to the final. Well, then how do you sell the final?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of difference between a 125 and a 250. As a matter of fact, one level.
Right.
So it's like, do the same thing. Maybe cooler cities. No offense to Dallas, but you're in New York City,
right?
At Nassau Coliseum, which I think is the old home of the New York Islanders.
I only know that because they were showing the jerseys of the Islanders at some point.
Let me tell you something. I don't know how many New York fans we have, but I hate your stupid Islanders. I hate them. I'm a Pens fan. Let's go Pens. I hate the Islanders so much. But that being said, wonderful tournament you had at the old Islander spot. Yeah, and again, it doesn't fit into whatever is going on, but maybe 250s don't need to.
Right.
Maybe they need to change it to, one. So, like, for instance, the U.S. Open situation, Indian Wells leads it off, and then you've got a bunch of Cincinnati types.
Right.
And then you finish it with, another 1,000, and then go to the U.S. Open. Or a 1,000 and then maybe cram a 500 in between for some of the people that need to get a little more.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is funny watching these players all, they all gravitate to whatever surface they like. So you had Cecchinato won the clay court tournament in Argentina, and he's going to play every clay court tournament he can between now and the French. Whereas you got guys like Isner and the American guys, they're going to play every hard court tournament that's offered until they can. So
well, at least it makes sense that the French is next.
Right.
So all of our guys should be, just slogging away on clay right now.
But they can't because you got Indian Wells and Miami in March. That's the problem. Mm-hmm. So they go practice on clay now, then they got to go play the two biggest tournaments left on hard court until July. So yeah, it's just kind of strange. I don't know what they could do different. They've got it so sporadic now. I don't know how they could do it.
Yeah, I think it hurts us to not have a defined season. I mean, and it's not just America, people. All right, we have international fans, and we know America is the best. I get it. But we also know that bothers you. We get that too. But it's not just American sports. I mean, your dumb soccer, football, they have defined seasons.
Right.
Now, they have about 9 different seasons because first you play for your team, and then you go play in a league, and then you go play another league. Then you play for your international team, and then you go play for your uncle's team. It's a mess. But there's defined seasons.
Right. Well, it's like imagine having a round one of the playoffs, and then, then we're going to go play a couple more regular season games, and then go back to round 2 of the playoffs.
But it's not even that. It's the way tennis works is you have the regular season, and then you have the first Super Bowl.
Right.
That's the Australian Open. Then you have some preseason games. No offense to New York Open. I hate the Islanders. So then you have preseason. Now you mess around. You play some really important games.
Right.
Then maybe a Pro Bowl, what I call Indian Wells.
Pro Bowl will be worse than the preseason. Exactly.
But you get paid bigger for it. That's why it's like the best players are there, and they play doubles. So Indian Wells is kind of like the Pro Bowl. And then they get back into the regular season of clay, and then they play that clay Super Bowl. And then Then they play a strike shortened format on grass. And after that's over, and we claim that, yeah, you just won because it's grass, and nobody likes grass.
Right.
But the hallowed ground, of course, is on grass. So it's a weird. So then we get into the actual real season leading into the true Super Bowl on hard courts.
Right.
What a dumb tennis is so dumb.
Yeah. And even if you made Indian Wells the fifth slam they've talked about, that wouldn't make any sense because you still have Miami after it. You'd have to switch Miami and Indian Wells, and even then it wouldn't make a difference.
Didn't Miami get downgraded?
Oh, did they?
I think so. I don't remember.
I don't know. Maybe I think that was just on the women's.
Oh,
I think the men's is still 1,000, but the women's
obviously because nobody.
And so we'll hear about the prize money being less for that later.
Do people realize it's two completely different entities in charge of those? Like, it's literally not it's not Djokovic and the player council deciding on what prize money is on the women's side.
Well, like if Taylor Swift has a concert in the stadium of the Super Bowl the next night, does she get paid the same as they did in the Super Bowl? Like, it doesn't matter. It's two different.
Right.
Just because they're in the same location over the same time period, what does that matter?
Or how about this? The Super Bowl and then the Puppy Bowl. It's not, they're not getting paid.
You just compared
Oops. I didn't mean to. I swear I didn't mean to.
I couldn't finish the analogy quick enough, so you got saved, maybe.
Anyway, but that's neither here nor there. So on the men's side, the New York Open was the talk of the town, no pun intended, and a fun tournament.
Yeah.
So instead of just griping about how it's dumb and doesn't fit anywhere, it seems to be pretty well attended for players at that level.
Right.
We enjoyed it because, again, we saw our players here and they got to see them there.
Yeah, Opelka won his first title ever, as far as I know, which is funny because, I didn't think he was that impressive when he was here, and then he goes and wins the tournament. And I think Nishikori did the same thing last year, except he won here. I think he won there also, back-to-back. So it's kind of interesting if people are going to start using this Dallas as kind of like a warm-up for that tournament. Because they're got to be pretty similar. Indoor, big city, a lot of the same players.
Right.
So it's got to give you some confidence if you do well here to go there.
Yeah. We also had another tournament going on.
Blast from the past.
I don't know how I feel about it. So we had a 500 going on in Rotterdam. That wasn't a bad word.
Remember, that's the one that Federer played last year to get the number one ranking. He just sort of randomly played it.
Oh, yeah.
And then I guess so he must have lost all those points this year.
So we had two players that are blast from the past.
Yeah.
Yet again proving this is the weakest air in the history because where has Stan been? Injured. He comes back, makes it all the way to the finals, and loses to Monfils.
Yeah, both those guys have been struggling for years.
Out of nowhere.
Well, Monfils hadn't won a tournament at that level, I heard, since Washington in 2016.
Since George Washington was president? Is that what you were going to say?
So that's 2.5 years since he's won a 500.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, I don't think he's won that many 500s ever. Probably just one or two others, maybe. And then Wawrinka, as good as he's done in slams, he actually hasn't won that many tournaments either. So it's kind of weird to see both those guys in the final. And they both had good wins to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, but for our purposes, having Stan the man back, or Stanimal, as your boy BG Tennis Nation calls him, having him back in the mix as that depth that we lament,
Well, and my friend is a big Djokovic fan, and he always says that's the only guy that he worries about for Djokovic.
They can give him trouble.
He always seems to beat him in an important moment. And so if he's feeling good going into the French, that will definitely add a little bit more interest to that tournament, because right now I see Nadal and Djokovic, and that's it. Federer coming back to me is not interesting because he won't beat either of those guys on clay. There's no chance.
Yeah, no chance whatsoever.
And he could lose to someone else before that.
Maybe.
Right, yeah, that'll really even more so cement your point of somebody who hadn't played a clay court match.
And he makes it
2 years, comes back and
makes it the
beats
semis
everybody.
Or even if he makes it to the quarters,
right?
Still,
yeah, that would be an extreme indictment on this era.
Yeah, how does a guy that's the second best clay court player in the history of the game, right? Because all he does is lose to Nadal in finals.
Right.
Come on! Why did you get me off on that tangent?
No.
Come on, I forgot all about that whole thing. So anyway, so it was good to see Stan back, and it adds to the depth, and I hope he can piece it together, unlike Delpo, who limps back, and then, boom, something will happen.
I mean, that's the thing. It almost makes me worry these guys are playing this much tennis now. What are they going to be like in June? They just had to play 5 matches each.
Yeah.
That's what.
Now, but Stan hasn't had,
chronic.
The chronic injuries at Delpo. I mean, you just can't count on Delpo at all.
Yeah. I don't think Monfils, it's just injury. It's apathy and injury.
Yeah.
And sometimes one leads to the other, who knows? But yeah, I don't see either of those guys turning this into something necessarily, but we'll see.
I will say, 500s are good. They bring out some good players. I mean, Nishikori was the 1 seed, and I mean, obviously he had injury issues, but he's been back long enough and has had good enough results to where he's legit. And I mean, Stan took him out in 3, and so I mean, just like Djokovic, he kind of came back but wasn't all back, and now he's all back. Maybe, I mean, beating Nishikori, I think that might be enough. And Milos, he beat Raonic,
right? Who he just lost to, recently. That
might be enough. And Shapovalov.
No, I think this is.
That might be enough to say, all right, now he's back.
Right. This is definitely his best results in a while. And now I would assume by the French, he's going to be good enough to be seeded, which helps with the draws.
Yeah. But, I mean, you're waiting, because we waited for Djokovic. When are we going to start picking him again? Right. Because he's, we don't know.
And you think you think if he's targeting anything on the calendar, it's got to be the French, because that's where he's been the best.
And you would also think that the French, the clay court season will be great for him. It's just less impact.
Right.
Longer points, though.
Yeah.
So you take one for the other. But, yeah, I'm hoping we can call it. I'm hoping we can call it that Stan's back, because it's funny how we gripe about the depth, and I think we're right, of course. And, of course, I had to convince you, so I was originally right. But one player changes everything. It changes everything to me.
Yeah.
Because all I care about is, are we going to have a threat for it to be different? That's it. And one person fulfills that need.
Yeah, because otherwise it's just the finals already decided. What do I need to watch the first 12 days of the tournament for?
That too.
Or even if one of those two happens to lose, that both of them aren't going to. I mean, Wawrinka's been the only one that's kind of upset that over the last few years, because he's won 3 slams, right? Or just 2?
I think 3.
That's what I thought. And so he's been the only one that's disrupted the Big Four more than once.
Consistent, yeah.
But really, it's like you said, it's Big 3, and then you got 4A and 4B with him and Murray, and a lot of people put him above Murray.
I do
because
now.
Of the slams.
Yeah. I mean, you got Cilic and Delpo, who each have 1, but obviously at any moment have the threat to get there.
Right.
So, yeah. So Stan the Man and Stanimal, his nickname is official nickname.
I don't know if you saw this week, they were debating something we had debated before about, and again, I'm sure they don't have any other options, so they said, is David Ferrer a Hall of Famer? Because he was in the tournament. Again, he retired. He was in the tournament, apparently. I don't remember which one. I don't know if he was in the Argentina one, I think. And I don't know how he did, but I know he didn't make it that far. But they asked Annacone if he should be a Hall of Famer. And I think he wanted to say no, but he was like, oh, let me think about that a little bit and get back to you.
So he didn't answer?
No.
Woo.
Well, at least not when I was watching. They might have come back and forced his hand later, but he probably in the back of his mind thought, well, if he's not, then who is? Because that's the whole problem. If you don't put him in, then you got nobody else.
Yeah, and you like with baseball, you have some set numbers. Strikeouts,
right?
Runs, home run, whatever it is, you have some set numbers. You get an era like this and no Grand Slams.
Right.
He
lost to Ramos Vignolas in 3 sets.
Oof.
In the round of 16, which, I mean, it was a close match, so, I mean, that's not that bad. But he says he's retiring in May at the Madrid Open. Why you wouldn't retire after the French, I don't know.
He has been retiring for 14 years.
Yes, he's 36, and he's going to play Madrid and then retire. I guess Madrid, Spain. I guess that's why.
Yeah.
and they'll give him a wild card regardless of his ranking.
Now, again, I don't want to get ahead of myself or contradict myself, so to speak, when we say that the Grand Slams aren't the only thing.
Right. And we can obviously debate him once he officially retires in a couple of years.
Yeah, he might win
we
the
don't
French.
have to say now, but I think there can't be many Hall of Famers that haven't won a slam, if any.
I wouldn't think so. But listen, what are people going to do?
Did Marcelo Rios get inducted?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. And he was number one.
But what
briefly.
But what are we going to do? I think what might happen is they might have to sort of bolster their argument that this isn't the weakest era in the history by saying, well, of course, nobody could have won Grand Slams in this era.
Right.
So just getting close is good enough.
When they'll be saying, Ferrer's record in slams was this if he didn't play the top four.
Well, here's what Ferrer's won. He won a title in 2002. Wow, how old are you? He won a title in 2006. He won 3 titles in 2007, 2 in 2008, 2 in 2010, 2 in 2011, 7 in a banner year in 2012. He won 7,
Jeez.
including a Masters 1000.
Was that his only Masters up until then?
So far, yeah. So then he won 2 in 13, 1 in 14, 1 in 5, and 15, 5 in 15, and then 1 in 17. None in 18, and none in 19. That's
a lot of titles, but
that's a lot of titles, man. But
I bet almost all of them were clay. And
clay, hard clay, grass.
Wow.
He won Herstegerburster. Clay, hard clay,
That's
hard
surprising he's won that many
clay.
hardcore tournaments.
Wow, he won Herstegerburster again. Clay, hard. He won the Paris Masters on
Which was
hard.
Indoor
and
yeah.
hard. Hard, clay, hard, clay, hard.
Although I'm not trying to
Clay.
discount him, but that Paris one is the one that the big players skip a lot of times because it's
Yes.
after everything's already done.
Indeed.
But that's the one that Sock won, which immediately downgrades your winning.
Yeah, any tournament sock. Yeah. So if you back into the year-end finals, you're out.
But that is a lot of titles. I mean, I'd have to say that's a much more than I thought
Impressive.
he won.
Yeah. Man, that makes it tough.
And he was a year-end top 5, probably 10 years at least.
Right. Man, that.
So, I mean, how can you consistently be a top 5 player and not be Hall of Fame? I don't know.
It's the greatest era in the history of it.
But then again, you have 11 Masters tournaments a year, so if you win one Masters tournament over the 15-year career, that's not that impressive when you phrase it like that.
That's true too. True as well. All right. Do we care anything else about men's tennis?
No, were you surprised how badly Schwartzman lost to his home country? He's top 15 player. He just got destroyed by Cecchinato. That kind of surprised me.
Did it surprise me? No, it didn't, because his game is Ferrer-like.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you're just going to get hit off the court.
And Cecchinato was playing super aggressive.
Yeah.
But it makes me kind of wonder about his draw. He'll be one of the players to look for. We have so few of those now in the slams. He was one of the ones that will be interesting what his draw is in the French. He could take somebody out
right
that you're not expecting. But he'll probably get matched up against Nadal third round, and then it won't matter. But
well, it could be first round if they only seed 4 like we want.
That's right. First round feature match. I like it.
All right. Now, let's really get into what matters the most, and that's women's tennis. Right after this.
It's time to join the revolution. Go to our website, tennisrevolutionpodcast.com, to get the latest episodes, email us your questions and comments, or give us show ideas.
All right, we're back. Even though Corey tried to go nowhere in the middle of that tease there.
Tried to do anything I could to stop it.
No! We're just going to cancel.
That's right.
So now, just the depth of results that are interesting to me on the women's side compared to the men's. It's like night and day, man. It's night and day.
Oh, yeah. Just the amount of play. You have the quality ranking-wise, and you got the star power. I mean, even as...
And it's weird that they don't pay him as much.
Was that classified as a... I know it's not the same scale, but would that be considered a 250 or 500 compared to the men's?
Dude, listen, I still have no... I do this for a living, and I have no idea.
I don't know how they do it.
Now, listen, if the men changed their system, I wouldn't know what those are either.
Well,
but
they have
make it
changed
easy.
it many times.
No, but they have the number in the title. So
Right.
it's easy. A 250 is lower than a 500, which is lower than 1,000, which is lower than a Grand Slam. Got it. Easy.
Right.
So, anywho, so we had, and again, I'm not going to talk about these in relation to the men because I don't care. I don't care. The women run their own league. They have their own rules, their own prize money scale, and they, except for the Grand Slams, the women are, the masters of their own destiny. Is that a bit much? It's true, though.
Yeah. Well, and just a side note, I was telling you before we got on, they had 5 lucky losers in this women's tournament, and I was thinking, man, that's got to be like a record.
Watching.
and I looked, and there was actually a tournament in the men's last year that had 8 in one tournament, and it was that one they talked about so much where Trungelliti drove with his grandmother, 8 hours. It was the big, they talked about it forever at the French Open. So I guess it's not as uncommon as I thought, but it was just weird to see a tournament that high caliber to have that many lucky losers.
Bail.
Especially now that they don't get paid for, well, I guess that's the deal. They get paid half their money now for withdrawing.
Right.
Whereas they used to get paid nothing.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something to that. Maybe I'll just enter every tournament. If I can't play, a big deal. I'll still get half the money. I think there's still some tweaks to that system to work out.
So we talked about Fed Cup last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Just
the
making
disappointment,
sure.
yes.
Yeah.
And so Barty was one of the ones that withdrew of this tournament after her
still
dominant performance.
She's still hungover. I'm celebrating on taking down the evil empire.
But yeah, do you see... with the women's, we can hardly read anything into somebody winning because it's a different winner every week. But, Halep, in typical fashion, made the finals and then lost. But that's still got to be somewhat encouraging for her. But then we saw some newer names later in the tournament. So maybe that's something to look forward to later. Who knows?
Yeah. I don't... Listen, first of all, Halep losing in a fashion that is acceptable is 2 people playing pretty well and her just losing. That's all right.
Yeah.
That's all right. It's not like she fell apart.
No, it was 3 sets and making the finals. That's how you get to be number one. It's not by winning, a slam occasionally, and it's by making finals.
Consistency.
Semifinals and finals all the time, which is why Serena's never number one anymore because she doesn't play enough.
Right.
And when she does, it's not consistent.
Is that a shot at the Queen? You're going to get in trouble.
Never.
Good thing you don't have Twitter because you'd be in big Twitter trouble.
Well, I'm sure I would hear how she's the greatest player in every tournament she plays. That she should be ranked number one at all times.
Agreed. Yeah, finally, you came around to my side. So this is a prize money tournament of $916,000. And so it is a premier level. But that doesn't seem like the premier level is that every time. I don't understand, man.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't think every tournament is the same.
That's called
because even the challengers and the men's aren't all the same.
Right.
So I think there's still some other determining factor.
Yeah. Whether women are in it or not, I think.
But yeah, it was a good tournament. It was a little bit hard to follow live because it was just a weird time zone. But it seemed like every time I turned it on, they were showing Halep in a long match.
It was the same match?
No, it was her. She was the feature match every time, it seemed like.
Was she? Well, she was the 1 seed, obviously, and,
And, of course, she has a tendency to play close matches. So
I want Svitolina to break through, man. I really do.
She's got to be one of the most – I mean, she's starting to get to that Zverev category where she's been ranked top 5 now for a long time.
Her volleys are way better. Way better volleys than Alex.
But she's been, ranked in the top 5 forever, and it's like, what more do you need to do?
Yeah, but I'm looking. So Kerber loses in the semis, and Svitolina loses in the other semi. What do we have? Burton's lost to Mertens in the quarters. I just like saying that.
Yeah, I got a text about that.
Gerges loses to Halep in 3 in the quarters. And it's like, I'm not upset about any of those. It doesn't mean – that's the other thing. Well, maybe winning a tournament doesn't mean a lot.
Right.
But these players losing to each other means nothing in a good way also.
Right.
It's not like, oh, man, she can't get it done. No, everybody can beat everybody, which makes it fun.
I've got – do you want me to clarify what we've been talking about?
Sure.
So premier tournaments, there are 20.
No, he's got the internet.
There are 20 per year premier tournaments. 4 of them are combined men-women equal prize money, $6.5 million. That's Indian Wells, Miami, Madrid, and Beijing, which I don't really remember Beijing having men's tennis, but I guess they do. And then there's Premier 5. There's 5 of these that are $2.8 million events. Although it says Doha/Dubai, so I guess maybe they rotate. Some of this year it's Dubai, or this year it's Dubai. Last year it was Doha. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
And then Rome, Montreal, Cincinnati, and Wuhan. And then the other ones are 12. But here's what doesn't make sense: 12 events with prize money from $799,000 to $2.5 million. So there's no specific amount.
And you want me, to back you on your claim that there's unequal prize money. What in the world is going? There is certainly a fair amount of times that tournaments are going on at the same time that the men are getting paid less.
Right. Oh,
and
for sure.
Nobody talks about that.
Well, especially if they've got 20 tournaments plus the 4 Grand Slams plus the year, and that's 29 weeks of tournaments they've got.
# he too.
I just heard that just this week for the first time.
Not for me. I've never heard it before. I just made it up on the spot.
But no, it was nice to see high caliber competitive tennis with well-known players, and that's what you get in the women's tour kind of consistently year round. It's interesting that the men's tour can't seem to get that.
Well, the question I asked, so I texted our friends from the Body Serve podcast. Although I don't know if they're our friends anymore. They never retweet my tweets anymore, and it's depressing.
Oh, they used to?
Sometimes, yeah. Mm-hmm. So maybe they look at us like competition. I'm like, I think not. I think not.
Right.
There's enough intent. Nobody cares about tennis. So there's enough to go around.
Yeah,
but anyway.
People that do have enough time.
Yeah.
Anywho. Limited resources.
Exactly. And nobody has that front-end song like we do. So really... I mean, not one single podcast that has anything to do with tennis has anywhere near that bump in intro music. Come on now. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. So I texted them that I'm wondering if, and I've brought this up before on this podcast, I think. I don't just save all my good ideas for tweets to other podcasts. I'm wondering in 3 years when every male player is gone and you're like 30 in the world, that's all that's going to be left, is can the women's game carry tennis overall here? Now, I was asking them more specifically about Canada because I don't know anything about Canadian tennis.
Right.
Do they play with hockey skates on?
Braden Schnurr now.
Right, but who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, do they play with hockey skates on? I don't know. Is there checking? Could be. So I don't know anything about Canadian tennis, and it's chilly from what I hear.
Right.
So I was just wondering, how the strength of their tennis was, et cetera, and then, but just generally also whether the women could really carry tennis when the men's falls apart, because the men, they are on quicksand. Their foundation is built on quicksand. It's almost over.
Well, that's what I kind of wonder about. Like, we don't ever get to see like tennis ratings because they're not on network, but I would be interested with the tournaments this week. Like, you had 3 men's tournaments, but none of them Like the highest ranked player that played in any of them were like 7 or 8 in the world. So you didn't have the top 6 players in the world playing anything.
And didn't need to play in it either. They were a little overshooting their mark.
But that's what I mean. If that could be every tournament in 2 years, because all those guys are going to be gone.
Right. They'll just be ranked higher, but they'll be the same player.
So then what will, that will be kind of the test is will we see a 20% drop off, 10%?
Here's what I'll tell you. I think women's tennis could carry tennis if the WTA would do it right.
Yeah.
If they hired Daniel Stern from the NBA, just like the NFL is trying to do, if they could steal him as a commissioner or just have him come in and consult.
Right.
Again, I got it that the rest of the world's all cool. I got it. I don't care. It's not America. You don't have the money we have.
Right.
You don't have the buying power we do, which.
Well, they don't need him. They're going to merge with the NBA.
That too. That too. Oh, my God. So if they could bring him in and consult and say, hey, what are some things we can do? They might be able to really bolster everything and really jump out in front of this issue and be ready to lead tennis internationally overall, men's and women's.
Right.
But I don't think they're going to take advantage of it. I don't know if they even are paying attention to see it coming. So.
Well, and still one of the biggest problems I have is even as much tennis as I got to see this week, it's like it's always a mystery when you turn it on what you're going to see. Like there's got to be more, continuity or more transparency with when things are on and where they're on and where can you watch them and who's playing. It's just I turn it on, it just says tennis and it lists 5 tournaments that it might be, and it's
and that's the tennis channel,
right?
And that's because nobody else wants. Listen, I'm telling you right now, they need to start lowballing their numbers and get on more stations.
Right.
That's what they need to do. These tournaments need to – I mean, they're short-sighted.
Yeah.
I don't know how any of this works, so I'm just spitballing here. I'm making stuff up. But it seems like the higher priority would be to get on some bigger stations.
Right.
Instead of short-term cash grab and nobody's going to see your dumb tournament.
Right. Yeah, I mean, because the problem is the Tennis Channel has the rights to it, but they don't have to show it. Like if so they had all 3 or 4 tournaments, the rights to them this week, but they can't show 4 tournaments at once. So they basically just pick the matches they want.
Yeah, Tennis Plus.
Yeah, would you be better off just being on a different station,
which is awful,
and they show the whole thing? Yeah, I mean that's the problem with having your tournament there is they can just pick and choose what they want to show.
The other option would be to work with YouTube.
Right.
Or somebody.
Any of those.
Yeah, and say, hey, broadcast days are over.
Right.
Because I'll tell you, we're a different bunch. Tennis fans, at least in America, I don't know how the rest of the world is, but in America, we're a different bunch. We are mistreated and abused and led astray and forgotten. And so if something came along that said, hey, pay this amount of money, flat fee, every single professional tennis match on the planet you can watch at your leisure, live, or is it Memorex? You remember that, don't you?
No.
You don't remember, is it live or is it Memorex commercial?
The one with the guy in the chair?
Yeah.
Oh, see, there you go.
There you go. Memorex, for those who don't know, Memorex was a tape company.
There you go.
Tapes are a recording device that we use, a recording medium we used before we had digital and CDs.
But
CDs are a digital recording device that lasted about 15 years solid until MP3s.
Yeah, how did DVDs last this long? They're still going.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
it's weird.
But no, I think that's the one market that the streaming companies don't have yet is sports, and that would be the way to start it.
Yeah.
Is just pick, you're not going to get football or, basketball yet, but you pick tennis to start with.
Give me the keys.
But you got to be able to watch it live. That's the thing.
We need to change the name of this podcast to Give Me the Keys. We'll drive.
Right.
Because I don't know, again, I don't know to the depth of all the issues that come with running a professional sport. I get it. But here's what I know. Whatever they're doing sucks.
Well, and you had Tennis Channel Plus.
Rest my case. That's our new Jack Sock. For women's tennis, our ending argument is.
I saw them on, BN was on like a billboard or something I saw somewhere, and I was like, wow, the first time I've heard of them since they dropped tennis.
Yeah.
But no, you were the one that did Tennis Channel Plus, so you can't watch any live tennis on there, right, except if it's on the Tennis Channel right then.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. It's awful.
If you have Tennis Channel, then what we need Tennis Channel Plus for? You already have the channel.
Well, here's what's funny. They would go back and forth and show matches during some tournament, like maybe 2 weeks ago or something, the Fed Cup, and then whatever the men's tournament was going on during that. And it was the Challenger here, I think.
Yeah.
So they were going back and forth between Fed Cup and like Fed Cup when the U.S. wasn't playing.
Right.
I think they were showing some stuff. And they, at the bottom of both screens, it said Tennis Plus Live, Tennis Plus Live. And I'm like, but you're showing it to me on Tennis Not Plus. What are you doing?
Right.
But here's what it is. It's like when I go to Pandora, they don't have every single song ever made, ever.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't know because the songs they don't have, I'm not aware of.
Right. They're obscure.
Like, not even close to being aware of.
Yeah.
And I pay for Pandora. I pay the $12.99 a month version of Pandora too. I'm big time. And I would do the same thing if I could have like I would do it with the USTA Pro Circuit.
Yeah.
Which is now the ITF. Don't even get me started on that. But, whatever it was, if I could watch every professional tournament, I would pay whatever. And then I don't have to have 9 different subscriptions to BN, to Fox Sports Southwest, to HBO.
And you don't have to guess which channel they're on either.
And NBC Sports Plus 1, 2, 8, 9, and 11.
Well, and the problem, here's the reason it'll never happen, the main reason to all of our problems is one main reason is there's no controlling body because Hulu, I guarantee, would pay $25 million right now to tennis if they could have rights to every single match.
But there is no tennis
but they can't pay it to anyone. Right.
That's why I'm telling you, I don't know if I should say this just in case I end up as president of this body. I'd want to do it, and I don't want to let anybody know. But here's the answer. 3 letters. Can you guess them? Watch your mouth.
K-E-Y. Key. Give me the key.
Just one key.
Yeah.
ITF.
Yes.
They have all of the weight behind them, and that is a world ranking junior system and Davis Cup and Fed Cup and the Crown Jewels.
Right.
The 4 Grand Slam tournaments.
Yeah.
So they could go to the U.S. Open and say, hey, here's what we're going to start doing. We're going to corral this U.S. Open series. We're going to get it where it's the exact same.
Right.
Which it pretty much is now. I mean, I don't know who made the U.S. Open do that. I don't think it was the ITF. And then say, hey, and then do the same thing with the French, and then say, listen, you 4 dum-dums, you're going to get together and you're going to work together and behave and quit this crap so we can make ungodly amounts of money, more than you would even dream of making now.
Right.
Because they could. Because the U.S. Open by itself makes $250 million.
Oh, yeah.
Or more. I mean, that's just the number you hear thrown around all the time. Or more.
Right.
Now you add in the series. If you could regulate every single Grand Slam had a series and you could regulate them all, and then you could bring all those tournaments under some kind of price control from their end to where they know they're getting a set amount of money. You can internationalize. Is that a word? Internationalize? Internationalize. That's what I'm going with. I like it. You can internationalize sponsors. Who cares about going to the local attorney's office and getting a banner for $250 for the week of your dumb tournament? Nope. They're all going to be Mercedes-Benz from the 250, in Washington, D.C., all the way to, Monte Carlo.
Yeah.
And then the 4 Grand Slams. And, so maybe not. Maybe you'll have the clay court season will have all of its sponsors and it'll be on every tournament. And then, the U.S. Open can do its own thing.
Right.
But whatever.
Well, I mean, you and I know of the 100% of tennis fans, 95% of them are casual. So they don't know what channel the tournament on, when a tournament starts, when it's on TV, where it's being played. They know nothing. They're just turning on a TV randomly and saying, "Oh, tennis is on." If everybody knew it was in the same location at all times, that people would watch so much more tennis, it wouldn't even be funny. I mean, they could immediately watch tennis anytime they wanted live.
But all our pipe dreams you crushed because you're right. There is no pay tennis.
Right.
Give tennis a check.
Well, because WTA did it with BN, and look how that worked. We knew where it was, but nobody could see it.
Right.
But then it really wasn't. That was they didn't have if they had every WTA tournament, I would have gotten it. But it was some tournaments they had, but then the other tournaments that were combined with men's, the Tennis Channel still had it, or It was just confusing.
And that's the way we solve this equal prize money debate. You get somebody like Hulu or somebody to have the exact same options for men's and women's.
Yeah.
And they're two separate subscriptions.
And I think you'd still get a pretty high offer if you set every tennis match except for the 4 slams. I think you could still get a huge offer.
Well, why wouldn't you include the slams?
Well, I just mean because the slams are so big, they're making so much already.
Yeah, but they have to be part of it because they're the only thing that's going to be able to leverage anything else.
Well, and if it's only streaming, it could still be on ESPN and NBC or whatever.
Right,
that's just the streaming rights only.
Yeah.
So I mean,
well, my point is that you've got to have that leverage being used, which is the Grand Slams.
Right.
They have to be willing to give up a little, but they're ultimately going to gain more control. It's the little tournaments that are going to be the problem.
Yeah, and how much money does little tournament get? Like the Challenger of Dallas now is on that streaming platform, but how much money do they get?
They don't count. We can do a whole different thing between that. I mean, that's fine. I mean, we can't have it all.
Yeah,
I mean that would be ideal.
Well, the problem is how you differentiate who gets the money from tournament to tournament.
Well, based on what level it is. But see, that's kind of how it happens now. I mean, the tournament doesn't get to decide what level it is.
Right.
All the governing bodies of each group decide that. And so that is one level of
Well,
power.
I need to find out. I probably can find out with my connections how much money
he's got connections.
How much money the Dallas Challenger got for that being on the Tennis Channel, if anything.
Right.
I'd be curious if they got anything. Maybe it's just exposure, so they don't even get anything for it.
Is this what journalists do? Do they go find out facts and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, they probably don't talk about it first. They probably actually do it
They
and
don't
then talk about it.
Nah, not in this day and age. They speculate first.
Right.
And then it's all wrong, and then they never apologize.
Yeah.
Fake news.
Oh, yes.
Was that a good Trump?
That was pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
That was more of the Baldwin Trump. But
yeah. I'm a Baldwin kind of guy. Holy moly, I think we solved it again.
Yeah, as usual, we didn't talk anything about women's tennis. No, we did.
Well, we talked about the fact that the results don't matter on the plus side.
They don't.
Whereas the men's don't matter on the negative side. That's really what it boils down to, that no matter what happens on the men, the same 3 are going to end up in the end. And on the women's side, the results don't matter because anybody could end up at the end. And that's wonderful, whereas the men's is not.
The reason I want the men's results to matter is because we had 6 unique finalists this week. I would love to see any of those 6 do something next week.
They won't.
If we have 4 or 6 different finalists next week, then it's like, okay, great. You had your one week where you got on a roll and that was it.
By the way, I do think, I can't remember because I don't pay attention to anything. I do believe I ran across something somewhere about this being a weak era.
Oh, yeah?
Somebody's listening to the podcast. I mean, somebody that matters. All our fans, they don't matter.
Well, I mean, they
matter, but you know what I'm saying.
You
They're not
have
on
to
TV.
recognize that it's a weak era when the Big Four don't play. I mean, there's no disputing that.
Yeah.
And we just had Opelka and Schnur make the finals of an ATP 250. I mean, that's got to mean something, even though that was a 250, but still.
Well, the bottom line is we're so far ahead of the curve. These people got to get their lives together and get on board because
Right.
I've been right since we've been doing this thing, which is how long now?
Feels like forever.
Nice. Nice. I'm trying to be serious.
A year and a half?
I don't know.
You've been doing it for 2 years at least.
Yeah, and I've been on this bandwagon since the beginning. This has been my contention.
And you've never said that about the women, so you can't just say we're cynical or pessimistic or whatever. We've never said the women's is a
That's
weakest
true.
era ever.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
Because I feel like that's what people criticize us for.
It's not like just our shtick to say that. It's really well reasoned,
right,
and thoughtful commentary.
And it just keeps.
That was a good
proven.
news voice, wasn't it?
It was, and it just keeps getting proven every week. So,
and it depresses me. So it's not like that's what I want either. I would be great to just say, "Oh, look at that, real tennis! It's amazing."
Well, and by the way, when Djokovic wins all 4 slams this year, is he better at 32 than he was at 28 or 26 or 30? The answer is no to all of those, and then he wins all 4 slams. So the only possible answer is the tour is weaker. So
Agreed.
That'll help us too.
Yeah, and again, none of these. Here's what the other clincher is that nobody can argue with us on the other end of that because no one, I mean no one, cares about Djokovic.
Right.
It's all about the big two, really. And so, he has one, spectacular year.
Right.
One spectacular year, and then gets injured. And I said point blank, no, he'll never look like that again.
Right.
But that was because I wouldn't have thought he would look like that again a year later, healthy.
Right.
Because it was such a high, it was, such domination that how can you do it again? And boy, I'm close to being wrong, which is weird for me. So we're right.
Yep.
And I was right first. How much did I have to drag? How much did you fight me on that?
Well, what made it easier was that I was never a huge Federer or Nadal fan. So it was okay for me to find a reason not just talk about how incredible they were forever like everybody else does. So that part was easy. It was difficult.
You sort of laughed me off, though.
Yeah, it was more difficult to think, okay, everybody else is just bad. I thought they're just amazing because that's what you always hear. It's real easy just to believe, they're just the greatest ever.
Man, what a feeling having a young buck like you under my wing and learning and coming along. It's been wonderful. You know what else would be wonderful? If these folks would follow us on Twitter. And by the way, I have a confession to make, and it's not even something I did wrong. The two people that won the bags for the tweet contest, they've never responded on Twitter. But wait, I followed them on Twitter just to make sure I got them, and and then I sent a message and they never replied. But all they do is retweet tweets about contests.
Huh.
It's strange.
So they're just looking to win things, but then they didn't claim it.
But in their profile things, they followed me way before this. So it's not so I don't know. It's strange. Maybe they're the same person and I just picked them by blind luck. So I'm going to go back through and try to do something different.
So yes, if you're listening, reach out if you want your bag. Otherwise,
yeah, if you're those two people that we said 3 weeks ago, it's too late. If not, I'm going to go back through and pick a new tweeter. So follow us on Twitter at Tennis Rev Pod, and don't follow if you're not going to retweet the episodes. For the love of all things holy. Also, visit us at Tennis Revolution Podcast, the Tennis Revolution Podcast on YouTube, because we're on YouTube, kicking it now, doing our thing, as they say, the youngsters say. And then we are on, what are we on again? Oh, yeah, Instagram.
Everything.
Instagram is Tennis Revolution Pod. So say it all the way out. And that is for no particular reason, because we will not send a picture out ever. And I think that's the point of Instagram.
Not to us.
No, not to me at all. So, yeah, follow us on all those mediums and on Twitter, for the love of Pete, and on YouTube. I don't know how YouTube spread it out. Hey, by the way, review or something maybe? YouTube's kooky. It's all new to me. But I think if you review it and give it 1 million stars and all the rest of it, it'll spread it quicker. Because I'm not getting that out very much. We don't have a lot of views. We have some, but I think they look at it and see it's not a video, and they're like, oh, we can't see those hunks of men that have those sexy voices?
Yeah, I mean, we're just going against the grain and everything. YouTube, no, we're not putting a video. Instagram, no, we're not putting pictures.
A lot of people do the no video thing,
no, I know.
Be fair.
Nobody does the Instagram no picture thing. We were trendsetters on that.
Certainly unique. By the way, just for unrelated to everything, I do not recommend playing college matches in 36-degree weather with a wind chill of 32.
So there's been a lot of talk this season about temperature rules and all that, and it's funny how every league kind of has their own rules, but the bottom line is, if you're out there and it's not fun, why do it? But again, that goes back to our long ago topic about tennis being a sissy sport. It's like every time I cancel, I get somebody sitting back, what, you're canceling? It's 35 degrees. Why are you canceling? And it's like, because I want it to be fun. I want you to want to come back. I don't want you to hate me when you're out there.
So the fact that we're not a quote-unquote tough guy sport, or girl, I don't care. I don't want to be out there with my fingers numb,
right.
my feet blocks of ice, and my ears like frostbitten. And by the way, at a certain temperature, the ball doesn't bounce
it
right
doesn't
anymore.
At all.
I mean, it's like a brick.
Well, and that implies that like other sports want to be out there in the cold. They don't want to be. They don't have a choice. Like just because they don't cancel for cold doesn't mean they want to be out there.
Exactly.
You know, they have to. Like if I told the tennis people we were having a match and you had to be there, they're going to be there.
Hey, just because a fat guy in the stands has his shirt off with his chest painted doesn't mean that the team he's cheering for wants to be out there. Okay,
Right.
He's hammered. Okay, he's hammered.
Right.
And he's not playing.
No, exactly.
Yeah, so we're all right. We're tough.
Yeah.
We're tough.
Thank you.
So, not you, but in general, the tennis that doesn't
Right.
exist, the general tennis that doesn't exist. All right, so follow us on all those mediums. Spread the word. Tell all your friends. Tell all your opponents, all your fans. You might have fans. And let's keep this thing moving and growing and spreading the word of tennis. Because in America, boy, we need it. All right, anything else?
That's it.
No corner, huh?
No.
Thank goodness. All right, everybody, until next time, thanks for joining the revolution.
Bye, guys.